I have been dating Kylan for 3 years. We met at a friend's party where he spent the entire night talking about his entrepreneurial mindset and showing everyone pictures of his recent solo trip to Thailand. I thought his confidence was attractive, and we clicked right away. For the first year, things were amazing. He was attentive, romantic, and seemed genuinely invested in our relationship. He'd write me these beautiful poems about how I'd changed his perspective on love. He took me to all these fantastic restaurants and planned thoughtful dates, but there were red flags I completely missed. The biggest one? His social media. Specifically, his Instagram. Kylan's Instagram account has over 15K followers. He posts daily content about his entrepreneur lifestyle, motivational quotes, gym selfies, travel photos, and business advice. But in 3 years of dating, he has never posted a single picture of us together. Not one. I wasn't bothered at first. I'm not big on social media myself. I post maybe once a month, usually just photos of my dog or something I cooked. But as time went on, I started noticing the captions on his posts. Living the single life has its perks on a beach photo, freedom is everything on a hiking trip we took together, and the only commitment I need is to my goals on a gym selfie. His profile bio? Entrepreneur, traveler, free spirit. Nothing about being in a relationship. 6 months ago, I finally brought it up while we were having dinner at his apartment. I asked why he never acknowledged our relationship online. His response? He gave me this condescending smile and said, "Labels kill love, baby. What we have is beyond social media. I'm building a brand here. My followers respond to freedom and independence." I pushed back, telling him it felt like he was hiding me. He got defensive, asking if I was really going to be that girlfriend who needs validation through Instagram. He made me feel small for even bringing it up, like I was being clingy and insecure. I dropped it then, but it kept bothering me, especially when I'd see him constantly on his phone, smiling at notifications. Whenever I'd ask who he was texting, he'd just say, networking connections, or business associates. 2 months ago, I was helping him move some furniture in his apartment when I noticed a notebook on his desk. It was open to a page with content calendar written at the top. What caught my eye was a note that said, "Keep posts aspirational, maintain single entrepreneur aesthetic, female followers engage more with available men." I didn't confront him then. Instead, I started paying more attention. I noticed how he'd angle me out of photos when we were at events together, how he'd post Instagram stories of our dinners but never show me, how he'd get text notifications late at night and turn his phone away from me. 3 weeks ago, I made a decision. I created a fake Instagram profile as Lilith, a 25-year-old girl. I used photos of my college roommate's cousin, with her permission, who lives in another state and doesn't have social media. I built up the profile with some generic lifestyle posts and followed a bunch of entrepreneur accounts, including Kylan's. It took exactly 3 hours before Kylan followed the account back, and within minutes he DM'd, "Hey beautiful, love your vision. We should connect sometime." I felt sick but played along. For the next 2 weeks, we messaged daily. He sent Lilith the exact same poems he'd written for me. He suggested the exact same first date spot he'd taken me to. He told Lilith he was completely single and waiting for someone who understands his vision. When Lilith asked about his relationship status, he said, "I've been solo for years. Freedom is essential to my journey. Some women can't handle a man who prioritizes growth over attachment." Last week, he suggested they meet up. I, as Lilith, agreed and proposed the same restaurant where Kylan and I have our 3-year anniversary dinner reservation this Friday. He immediately agreed and said he'd been wanting to try that place. So here's my plan. I'm going to show up for our anniversary dinner. He thinks he's meeting Lilith, but he's actually meeting me. He has no idea that I know everything. He doesn't know that I've been compiling screenshots of our conversations. He doesn't know that I've already told my best friend Stacy everything. I don't just want to break up with him. I want him to face what he's done. I want him to sit across from me and explain why he's been living this double life. Why he's been making me feel crazy for having normal expectations. Why he thought I was stupid enough not to find out. Our reservation is for 7:30 tomorrow night at this upscale Italian place downtown that requires a deposit for reservations. He's been talking about how excited he is for our anniversary all week. This morning, he even sent me flowers at work with a card that said, "To many more years together." Meanwhile, he told Lilith he'd meet her at the bar at 7:15, 15 minutes before our actual reservation. His plan was obviously to meet her for a drink, charm her, exchange numbers, and then seamlessly transition to dinner with me. The restaurant has these semi-private booths, so he probably thought he could pull it off without running into anyone he knows. I've decided to arrive at 7:10 and sit at the bar where I can see him come in. I'm going to watch him look for Lilith. I'm going to watch him check his phone when she doesn't show up. And then, at exactly 7:30, I'm going to walk up to him for our anniversary dinner. I keep running through different scenarios in my head. Will he try to lie his way out of it? Will he blame me somehow? Will he beg for forgiveness? I've practiced what I'm going to say so many times, but I'm still nervous about how it will actually play out. Yesterday, he texted me asking what I'm wearing tomorrow so we can coordinate. I told him I bought a new red dress for the occasion. He texted back that he can't wait to see me in it. An hour later, he messaged Lilith asking what she's wearing so he can recognize her at the bar. Lilith told him she'd be wearing a blue dress. He responded, "Blue is my favorite color. I bet it brings out your eyes." I've packed up most of my things from his apartment already. While he was at a networking event last weekend, I gradually moved my important stuff back to my place. He hasn't even noticed that half my clothes are gone, or that I took all my expensive skincare products from his bathroom. I also have all the screenshots saved and backed up to my cloud storage. Part of me wants to send them to his mom, who adores me and is always asking when we're getting married. But another part of me just wants a clean break after I confront him. Stacy thinks I should record the whole conversation, but that feels like crossing a line. I just want him to know that I'm not as naive as he thought I was. I don't know what happens after tomorrow night. I've been with him for 3 years. We've talked about marriage, kids, buying a house together. I'll update after the confrontation tomorrow. Wish me luck. Edit. I'm sitting in my car in the restaurant parking lot right now. I can see his car already here. He's early, which he never is for our dates. He's here early for Lilith. I'm shaking with anger, but also weirdly calm. The next time I update, it'll be over. 3 years over because he couldn't even pretend to be committed on Instagram. Because labels kill love. Well, so does lying. First update. First, thank you all for the supportive comments on my last post. I honestly wasn't expecting thousands of people to care about my relationship drama. But here we are. Several of you asked for an update, so here's what happened at the restaurant last night. I arrived at 7:05, 5 minutes earlier than planned. I parked a few spots away from Kylan's car and took a moment to check my makeup in the mirror. I'd chosen my outfit carefully. The red dress I told him about, paired with the diamond earrings he gave me for Christmas last year. I wanted to look exactly like myself, not someone trying to catch a cheater. Walking into the restaurant, I spotted Kylan immediately. He was sitting at the bar, looking anxiously at the door every time it opened. He was wearing a new blue button-down shirt, matching what Lilith said she'd be wearing, not coordinating with my red dress like we discussed. First betrayal of the evening. I stood in the entryway where he couldn't see me. The hostess approached asking if I had a reservation. I explained I was surprising someone and pointed to Kylan. She smiled and let me wait there, probably thinking I was planning something romantic. If only. For 15 minutes, I watched him. He checked his phone constantly, typed messages, to Lilith obviously, fixed his hair in the mirror behind the bar, and ordered a whiskey neat, his impressive drink for first dates, not the wine he usually has with me. At exactly 7:30, when our actual reservation time arrived, I walked up behind him. He was so focused on the door waiting for Lilith, he didn't notice me until I placed my hand on his shoulder. When he turned and saw me, his expression cycled through confusion, shock, and then forced happiness so quickly it was almost comical. "Milana!" he exclaimed, standing up awkwardly. "You look amazing, but you're early for our reservation." I smiled and told him no, I'm exactly on time for 7:30. He's the one who's early. Then I asked who he was waiting for. The panic in his eyes was immediate. He claimed he just wanted to have a drink before dinner, that's all. The hostess interrupted, saying our table was ready. As we followed her, Kylan kept checking over his shoulder toward the entrance. I asked if he was looking for someone. He denied it, saying he thought he saw a business contact. Once seated, I maintained the charade for about 10 minutes, making small talk about my day while he grew increasingly distracted, checking his phone under the table. Finally, I'd had enough. I reached across the table, took his phone from his hands, and asked if he was looking for Lilith. The color drained from his face. He asked how I knew that name. Instead of answering, I took out my own phone, opened Instagram, and switched to the Lilith account right in front of him. His eyes widened as he finally understood. "You catfished me?" was his first response, like I was the one who did something wrong. The audacity of this man. I explained calmly that I created the profile after noticing his single aesthetic online and his secretive behavior with his phone. I asked why he told Lilith he'd been solo for years when we'd been together for 3. He tried several tactics in rapid succession. First, he claimed it was just marketing for his brand, that appearing single helped him get more followers and business opportunities. When I didn't buy that, he switched to claiming he was testing me because he suspected I was cheating. When I laughed at that absurdity, he pivoted again. Then came the gaslighting. He tried telling me I was overreacting to something harmless. That messaging other women didn't mean anything because he never actually met up with them. That I was insecure and controlling for monitoring his social media presence. I cut him off mid-sentence and placed my phone on the table, screen up, showing our conversation as Lilith. I scrolled through, highlighting key points. Him sending Lilith the exact poems he wrote for me. Him scheduling our anniversary dinner as a first date with another woman. Him explicitly stating he was single. That's when he switched to damage control. His eyes got all sad and his voice dropped to that soft, apologetic tone. He admitted he messed up but insisted it was just online flirting that never went anywhere physical. He claimed he loved me but struggled with commitment and attention-seeking behavior. He actually started crying, saying he needed help, therapy, whatever I wanted. I asked him directly, "How many others have there been?" He hesitated just long enough for me to know the answer wasn't 0, then claimed there had been some flirting but nothing serious and never physical. I didn't believe him for a second. The waiter approached to take our order, clearly sensing the tension. I looked at Kylan and said we wouldn't be staying. Then I stood up and walked out. He followed me to the parking lot, getting increasingly desperate. He begged me not to throw away 3 years over a stupid mistake. He promised to delete Instagram completely. He even said he'd been planning to propose on our upcoming trip next month. A lie, we had no trip planned. I got in my car, rolled down the window, and told him I'd be by tomorrow to get the rest of my things from his apartment. He kept saying we needed to talk more, that I couldn't just end things like this. I drove away with him still standing there in the parking lot. When I got home, I had 37 missed calls and over 50 texts from him. I didn't read them all, but they ranged from apologetic to angry to manipulative. The last one I saw before blocking his number: "You set me up. That's not love. You clearly wanted a way out of this relationship." I thought I'd feel relieved or vindicated after confronting him, but mostly I just felt tired. 3 years with someone who could so easily live a double life. 3 years of believing in a relationship that apparently meant nothing to him the moment an attractive profile sent a DM. Here's where things got even more twisted. At around 2 a.m., I got a notification from Instagram. Kylan had unblocked the Lilith account. Yes, he blocked it right after our confrontation, and sent a long message. He claimed I misunderstood everything, that he knew it was me all along and was playing along to teach me a lesson about trust, that my little test proved I never trusted him, and now he couldn't trust me either. I didn't respond, but I took screenshots of everything. This morning I texted his roommate Shane, who I've always gotten along with, asking when would be a good time to come get my remaining stuff. Shane called me immediately, confused. Apparently Kylan told him we had a small fight but were working things out. He had no idea we broke up. Shane was shocked when I explained what happened and told me to come over at noon when Kylan would be at his weekly pickup basketball game. When I arrived, Shane helped me load my things into my car. While packing, he mentioned something that made my stomach drop. Kylan has been bringing women to their apartment when I'm out of town for work. Shane assumed they were just friends because, well, Kylan was in a relationship with me. He never suspected anything until now. Shane also revealed something else. Kylan had been planning a Vegas trip with some business contacts next weekend, a trip he never mentioned to me. Shane saw the hotel confirmation on their shared printer. 1 room, 2 guests. When Shane asked about it, Kylan said it was a last-minute networking opportunity. I finished gathering my things, thanked Shane, and left. As I was pulling out of the parking lot, Kylan's car turned in. He saw me and blocked the exit with his car, jumping out and demanding to know what I was doing at his place. I rolled down my window and simply told him I got my stuff, and Shane knows everything. Kylan's face changed. He started saying Shane was lying, that he's always been jealous of our relationship, that I can't trust anything he says. I told him to move his car or I'd call building security. He eventually moved, but followed me for several blocks, calling repeatedly from different numbers when he realized I'd blocked his. When I got home, I found he'd reached out to Stacy on Instagram, spinning some story about me having mental health issues and misunderstanding our relationship status. Stacy shut him down immediately, but it shows how far he'll go to control the narrative. The wildest part? He's already changed his Instagram bio to "Healing from Betrayal. Trust is everything," and posted a cryptic black and white photo with the caption, "When someone shows you who they really are, believe them." Like he's the victim here. I wasn't going to tell his mom what happened, but she called me this afternoon asking why Kylan was posting such strange things online. I told her we broke up but kept the details vague. She pressed for more information, saying Kylan told her I'd gone crazy and created fake profiles to test him. I finally explained the whole situation. She apologized to me and said she'd be having a serious conversation with her son. Shane texted me an hour ago saying Kylan is telling everyone who will listen that I'm unstable and obsessive, that I manufactured this whole scenario because I was afraid he was going to break up with me. He's even shown people our text conversations that he's edited to remove context and make me look irrational. I'm not worried about people believing him. Anyone who knows me knows that's not who I am, but I am concerned about what other manipulation tactics he might try. I'm staying with Stacy for a few days just to be safe. I'll update again if anything significant happens. Oh, and for everyone asking if I sent the screenshots to his followers or posted them publicly, no, I haven't. As satisfying as it might be to expose him, I don't want to stoop to his level of manipulation. His true colors will show themselves without my help. Edit. He just posted a series of Instagram stories about forgiveness and understanding the whole story, then tagged me in a throwback photo from a year ago with the caption, "Missing what was real." I immediately untagged myself and made my profile private. The audacity of this man is truly unbelievable. Does he really think I'd fall for this manipulation after everything? This is getting exhausting. Second update. It's been exactly 1 week since the restaurant confrontation. Thanks to everyone who commented on my last posts with advice and support. To those who predicted Kylan wouldn't just accept the breakup and move on, you were absolutely right. After staying at Stacy's for 3 days, I returned to my apartment on Monday thinking the worst was over. I was wrong. That afternoon, I got a call from my sister Lena asking if I was okay because Kylan had reached out to her on Facebook. He told her he was worried about my mental health and asked her to check on me because I was making up stories about him. My sister and I are extremely close, so she immediately knew something was off about his message. I filled Lena in on everything, and she was livid. Turns out, Kylan hadn't just messaged her. He'd contacted several people in my family, including my dad. My dad called me that evening, confused about why my troubled boyfriend was asking him to stage some kind of intervention for me. I spent an hour explaining the whole situation, including showing him screenshots of the Lilith conversations. Dad went from confused to furious in record time and told me he'd handle Kylan if he contacted our family again. Tuesday morning, I walked into work to find a massive bouquet of roses on my desk. The card simply said, "We need to talk. 3 years deserves more than this." I immediately took the flowers to the break room for anyone to take and threw away the card. My coworker Giovanna saw me and asked what was going on. When I explained briefly, she mentioned that a really intense guy had delivered them himself instead of a florist, and had asked her multiple questions about my schedule and whether I was seeing anyone new. I was getting seriously uncomfortable with his behavior, so I decided to message Shane to see if Kylan had mentioned any other plans to contact me. Shane called me immediately, sounding stressed. He told me Kylan had been acting erratic, staying up all night, obsessively checking social media, and ranting about how I'd ruined his brand and damaged his reputation. Shane also revealed that Kylan had canceled his mysterious Vegas trip and had been inviting different women over each night since our breakup. Also, Shane overheard Kylan on the phone telling someone he was going to fix things with Milana, one way or another. Shane was worried enough about Kylan's state of mind that he wanted to warn me. He also mentioned he was looking for a new apartment because the situation was getting too weird. Wednesday afternoon, I was leaving work when I spotted Kylan sitting in his car in the parking lot. I immediately turned around and went back inside, asking a male coworker to walk me to my car later. When we eventually went out, Kylan's car was gone, but there was a handwritten letter tucked under my windshield wiper. I didn't even read it, just threw it away. I'm not giving him the satisfaction of knowing his tactics are working. By Thursday, I was seriously considering a restraining order, but I wasn't sure if what he'd done so far would qualify. I called a local legal aid office, and they said that while his behavior was concerning, I needed more documentation of explicit threats or repeated unwanted contact after clearly telling him to stop. I started keeping a detailed log of every interaction and saving every message. That evening, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I answered. It was Kylan's mother. She was calling to apologize for her son's behavior, and to let me know she was trying to get him to seek therapy. She sounded genuinely concerned and embarrassed. She also warned me that Kylan had always had trouble accepting rejection and might continue trying to contact me. I thanked her for the call but kept it brief. While I appreciated her reaching out, I wasn't interested in getting pulled back into Kylan's drama through his family. Friday night was when things really escalated. I was having dinner at a restaurant with Stacy when Kylan walked in with a woman. They were seated at a table across the room, clearly visible from where we sat. This was no coincidence. Stacy had posted a photo of our appetizer on her Instagram story an hour earlier, tagging the restaurant location. Kylan had clearly seen it and decided to show up. The entire time, he kept making sure I noticed them, laughing too loudly, touching her arm constantly, glancing over to check if I was watching. The woman seemed completely unaware she was being used as a prop in his pathetic attempt to make me jealous. I refused to give him the reaction he wanted. Stacy and I continued our dinner, ignoring them completely. After about 30 minutes of getting no response from me, Kylan got up and headed to the restroom, deliberately walking past our table. As he passed, he leaned down and said just loud enough for me to hear, "This could still be us if you'd stop being so dramatic." That was it. I stood up, looked him directly in the eyes, and told him clearly, "Leave me alone. Do not contact me, my friends, or my family again. We are done. If you continue, I'll get a restraining order." Kylan's face turned red, and he hissed that I was making a scene over nothing. I sat back down and he stormed out of the restaurant, leaving his date looking confused at their table. Stacy and I paid our bill and left quickly after that. The poor woman he was with looked mortified. I almost wanted to warn her about what she was getting into. Saturday morning, Kylan's manipulation tactics took a new turn. He posted a long, vague Instagram post about forgiveness and misunderstandings in relationships. Then he shared several old photos of us in his stories with captions like, "Missing the real connection we had," and "Sometimes people lash out when they're hurt." The audacity of this man trying to rewrite our breakup as some mutual misunderstanding. Sunday brought the biggest surprise yet. I was grocery shopping when I literally ran my cart into Kylan's ex-girlfriend, Kellen. I recognized her from photos I'd seen during our relationship. Kellen explained that she'd seen Kylan's recent posts and figured out what was happening. She wanted to warn me that when she broke up with him 2 years ago, right before he met me, he spent months trying to get her back, showing up at her workplace, contacting her friends, even dating her coworker briefly to stay connected to her life. Many of the romantic gestures Kylan had made for me, the poems, the specific date ideas, even certain phrases he used, were recycled directly from his relationship with her. The original poems he wrote for me, and later sent to Lilith, were actually first written for Kellen. I asked why she was telling me all this. She said she wished someone had warned her about his patterns when they broke up, and she wanted to help me avoid the months of harassment she'd endured. She had eventually moved to a new apartment and changed her phone number to get away from him. I left that conversation feeling strangely validated, but also deeply disturbed. Everything about our relationship suddenly seemed fake. Not just his social media presence, but the romantic gestures I'd thought were special and unique to us. Monday morning, yesterday, I woke up to dozens of notifications. Overnight, Kylan had gone on a posting spree, sharing screenshots of text conversations between us. The screenshots were heavily edited and taken completely out of context to make it look like I had been possessive and unstable throughout our relationship. In his captions, he claimed I had created the Lilith profile because of my severe insecurity and trust issues, and that he'd tried to be patient with my emotional problems. He ended the post series with, "I'm sharing this not to hurt Milana, but because I'm worried about her and hope she gets the help she needs." I wanted to respond with my own receipts. The screenshots of his conversations with Lilith, the messages from his mother, the warnings from his ex, but I knew engaging publicly would only feed into his narrative that I'm obsessed with him. Instead, I called his mother again. I explained what he was posting and how he was trying to damage my reputation. She was mortified and promised to speak with him immediately. 3 hours later, all the posts about me were deleted, and his profile went private. This morning, Shane texted me saying Kylan's mom had shown up at their apartment yesterday and had a major confrontation with him. She apparently threatened to stop helping with money if he continued harassing me or posting about me online. Shane said Kylan was furious but seemed to be taking the threat seriously. For now, things have quieted down. I've strengthened my privacy settings on all accounts and warned my workplace about the situation. I'll update again if anything significant happens. Thanks again for all the support. It's been genuinely helpful to have objective perspectives during this bizarre situation. Edit. Just as I was about to post this, Stacy called. Kylan just announced on Instagram that he's moving to Miami next month for a major business opportunity. I'm skeptical about whether it's true or just another manipulation tactic, but either way, distance would be welcome at this point. I'll keep you all posted. Last update. Hey Reddit. It's been 2 months since my last update, and I've waited to post again because I wanted to be sure things were truly resolved before sharing. So much has happened that I've been struggling with how to organize it all, but here goes. First, Kylan did actually move to Miami, but not for the major business opportunity he claimed. The real story came out gradually and is way more embarrassing for him than I could have imagined. Remember Shane, Kylan's roommate? He reached out about 3 weeks after my last post. He and I met, and he filled in some major gaps in my understanding of what really happened after our confrontation. According to Shane, Kylan's entrepreneur business was barely making any money. His flashy Instagram lifestyle was almost entirely funded by his parents, particularly his mom. After she showed up at their apartment threatening to cut him off financially if he kept harassing me, she also demanded to see his business records and bank statements. Apparently, Kylan had been telling his parents he was running a successful online business, when in reality he had only 2 small clients and was spending most of his time creating content for his personal brand. He'd been using the business expense money they sent to fund his fake lifestyle. The restaurants, the trips, the clothes, all while barely earning enough to cover his portion of the rent. When his mom discovered this, she was done. She told him he had 2 options: move back home to Ohio and work for his dad's work, or move to Miami where his uncle owns a firm and could give him an actual job with accountability. She would help with moving expenses and 3 months of rent in Miami, but after that, he was on his own. The major business opportunity was basically his family's last attempt to get him to grow up and stop playing entrepreneur on Instagram. Shane said Kylan was furious and kept ranting about how no one understood his vision or appreciated his brand building, but ultimately had no choice but to accept the Miami offer. Before he left, Kylan tried one last time to reconnect with me. He showed up at my apartment building on a Sunday morning. Fortunately, I wasn't home. I was at brunch with Stacy. My neighbor George texted me that some guy had been knocking on my door for 10 minutes, then sat in the hallway for another hour before leaving a letter. I asked George to throw the letter away without reading it, but he'd already opened it, thinking it might be important. He texted me a photo of it. The letter was 8 pages long, handwritten, full of manipulative nonsense about how I was the only one who ever believed in him, and how he was moving to Miami to become the man I deserved. There was also a lot of blame shifting, how my test with the fake profile showed I never trusted him, which forced him to react badly. When I make it big in Miami, I know you'll regret how you handled things. My door will always be open when you realize what you threw away. The audacity. Even in his goodbye letter, he couldn't take responsibility or acknowledge what he did wrong. It was still somehow my fault, and he was still positioning himself as the prize I would eventually come crawling back to. I told George to throw it away and thanked him for the heads up. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. About a month after he moved, I was at a work happy hour when I got a string of notifications from Instagram. Kylan had tagged me in 20 old photos of us together, all posted within minutes of each other. Each caption was more desperate than the last. Missing what was real, the one who got away. Sometimes you don't appreciate what you have until it's gone. I immediately untagged myself from all of them and blocked his account, but the damage was done. Several colleagues and friends had already seen the notifications. People started texting me asking if we were back together. Even my dad called, concerned that Kylan was acting weird online again. I decided enough was enough. I called his mother. I'd kept her number after our previous conversations. She answered immediately and sounded exhausted. I explained what Kylan had done and how it was affecting my work and personal life. She apologized profusely and promised to address it with him. The next day, all the photos were deleted. His mom texted me saying she'd had a come-to-Jesus talk with Kylan and his uncle in Miami. They laid down the law. If he contacted me again in any way, his uncle would terminate his employment and his parents would completely cut financial ties. Around this time, I ran into Shane at a shop. He mentioned that before Kylan left, he found a notebook in their apartment with actual scripted conversations and date ideas. Shane said it included details about which stories work best with different types of women and how to adjust his personality based on what each woman seemed to respond to. Shane took a photo of a page because he found it so bizarre. It had a literal flowchart of how to respond to different reactions when reciting his self-written poems. That notebook explained so much about why Kylan always seemed to have the perfect thing to say. He wasn't intuitive or especially connected to me. He was literally following a script he'd refined through trial and error with multiple women. Yesterday, I received a certified letter from a law firm in Ohio. For a moment, I panicked, thinking Kylan was trying to sue me for something ridiculous. Instead, it was a formal letter from his parents' attorney stating that Kylan has agreed to cease all contact with me, directly or indirectly. The letter included a signed statement from Kylan acknowledging that any further contact would result in legal consequences. I'm not naive enough to think a piece of paper will magically change who Kylan is, but it shows his parents are serious about preventing further harassment. It also gives me legal recourse if he ever tries to contact me again. To everyone who supported me, thank you. Edit. I was organizing my closet yesterday and found a small box of Kylan's things I'd forgotten about. Just some toiletries and a couple of t-shirts he'd left at my place. I threw them in the donation bin without a second thought.